and smaller and smaller. And you go up about 5 kilometers into the air, like when you're traveling on a plane and you're coming into Johannesburg. I can't even see. Sometimes I have to strain my eyes to always try to find my house when I'm landing in Johannesburg. Always, from the window, I try to locate where I am. I try to see Joy Ministries and all of that. And I can barely see someone that's sitting in this church. I won't be able to see Francis sitting there. And that's only 5 kilometers up. And then if you go higher up into the atmosphere, you're still in earth. But now you're so small, I can't even represent you as a dot on the earth. And yet my Bible says that this God commanded the atmosphere into place with one word. And you think that your problem is not big, is too big for this God? And that's just in our atmosphere. Go a little higher, out of the atmosphere of the earth, out of the ozone layer. Go out through the stratosphere and get into space. By then we can't even represent each other. We're just too small. And then we move out kilometers into space. And then the earth gets so small. And it's so tiny in the Milky Way. If you travel light years, now we can't even comprehend the traveling, the distance. They measure it in light years. The amount of time that light takes to travel in 1 year, that's a light year. Our mind can't even fathom this. By then, the earth in our atmosphere is so small, even a dot cannot represent it. Leave alone South Africa. Leave alone Johannesburg. Leave alone Germiston. Leave alone your house. Leave alone your problem. This is the God I speak of today. When David behold him in that dimension, he says, what is this man that you are mindful of him? You ordain the universe. Listen, after I told you all of that, let me read the scripture again to you. When I consider your heavens, the works of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you put in place, what is this man that you are mindful of him? He's so small and so minute. Your problem in this big universe that God created is nothing for him. He's a big God. It is our limited mind that traps us in unbelief because we cannot fathom the depths and the heights and the widths of his love for us. That's what Paul said when he was speaking to the Corinthian people. He said, your eyes will never see, and your ears will never hear, and your heart will never discern the things that God prepared for you, because these things are just out of this world. It is just too big. And then he says in the next verse, in verse 10, he says, but these things are revealed to you by the Spirit of God. So in other words, the things that God will do in your life cannot be understood by the power of your mind. That's where unbelief abides. Unbelief abides in your logic. It abides in your natural ability to see things and to comprehend things. But faith, on the other hand, is a supernatural thing. The book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 1 says that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. It is not about what you see. It is not about what you can comprehend. Faith is a supernatural thing. Faith is understanding. When David stood and looked into the heavens, he says, I cannot even imagine to explain the heavens and what are the stars in the sky and the planets in the universe. But I know, God, that you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. This is where unbelief lies. Unbelief lies when you try to understand this God, the God of heaven. When you try to understand how is he going to do it in your life, because your problems become magnified in your life and the God of heaven is diminished through unbelief. But faith magnifies God and diminishes your problems.